Good morning. So we're back, second day in a row in Hillsborough County, but it is 813 day, so I guess this is a perfect place to be for what we're going to be doing today. I'm joined here by our new Lieutenant Governor, Jay Collins, and from this area. Your state attorney resoundingly reelected in November, Susie Lopez, and she's doing a great job. Our host today, Sheriff Chad Kronister. Thank you, Chad. We have Senator Jim Boyd from nearby in Manatee County. He's going to be the president of the Florida Senate in a couple years. And we also have Rep. Susan Valdez, and we have Deputy Maria Gallegos, who's here from the Florida Hillsborough Sheriff's Office, and you are going to hear from her in a second. So we say we're a law and order state, and I think that's better than like running on what this guy in New York City's running for mayor, wants to get rid of the NYPD and all that. So it's good to at least be rhetorically correct, but it's one thing to talk the talk, it's another thing to walk the walk, and no state has walked the walk more for safe communities, law and order, and supporting law enforcement than the free state of Florida. And if you look over the past few years, we've signed really land-breaking or groundbreaking legislation to do a lot of different things, including even making sure we're keeping civil peace when you had around the country people are demonstrating, and that's it gets out of hand. It becomes violent. They take over bridges and streets. You had places that were defunding police in different municipalities, and we said that is not going to happen in the state of Florida. We're not defunding police, and you are not going to be shutting down highways and roads and bridges to pursue your agenda. And if you try to lay a finger on law enforcement, or if you loot or engage in mob violence, you are going to pay the price for that. And think about it. You saw these Hamas protests that they were doing last year. They would just go and like take over a bridge in some of these cities. It's like people just sit there twiddling their thumbs. They tried to take over a street in Miami, and it was 13 minutes, and they were gone. They tried it in Orlando, Florida Highway Patrol, 11 minutes, and they were gone. We're not putting up with that. And first of all, you don't have a right to engage in disorder. You don't have a right to be violent or to do that. But especially when you're taking over roads, it's like people have to pick up kids from school. People have to get to work. People have to get to hospitals. They have to do all these other things. I think it's like the biggest sign of just disrespect to your fellow citizens that you would think it's fine to just go take over some roadway just to pursue your agenda. And so I'm glad that we've had strong legislation for that. Now, as you saw Florida doing what we did, so many other jurisdictions were really doing the opposite or not doing anything at all. There were a lot of law enforcement folks that were not appreciated, I think, in what they were doing. And there are some areas of the country where they get almost no support for what they're doing, and a lot of times they get blamed by the political leadership for things that are not their fault. So we've seen opportunities in Florida to show with our deeds that people that serve in law enforcement are engaged in a noble calling, that this is something that's important for our communities to have good people in uniform, but it's also something that could be very rewarding as a career. And so we put our money where our mouth is. The budget I just signed, we got about $50 million in pay increases for our state sworn law enforcement officers, and that includes increase in the minimum annual base pay for state LEOs and a 15% increase for our veteran law enforcement officers, which is very meaningful. Now, I had proposed 25. We were supported by Jim and other senators. We were not necessarily supported in the House, and so we had a compromise there where we were able to get 15%. That's meaningful, but I want to do more next year, and we're proud of being able to do that. We've also done things like our LEO Explorer program. it increases interaction between high schoolers and law enforcement officers to help build bridges and encourage responsible citizenship once these students graduate, go out into the real world. You know, some of this anti-police sentiment is based on narrative. It's not based on fact. And so when you get these kids who are able to come and see what people are doing, it really is clarifying for them, because you don't know what's being put into their heads about law enforcement. And it doesn't mean that everybody that wears the uniform, no one ever makes mistakes, and they're held accountable, you know, when that happens. But some of the garbage that gets out there is, I think, really unfair, and it's not based on fact. So this really helps, I think, expand people's horizons. I think it allows these students to be able to see a lot of what hard work and dedication goes into this profession. We also created the Florida Law Enforcement Academy Scholarship Program, which covers tuition fees and up to $1,000 of eligible education expenses for trainees enrolled in LEO Basic Recruitment Training Program. You know, we have things like the Bright Future Scholarship for higher education, which I've been very supportive of in Florida. Now we have not for Florida residents, tuition's the same as it was the day I became governor. So you have the cheapest tuition in the entire United States at our state university system, which is really, really good, $6,300 on average. That is something that if you got no financial help, you would be able to work part-time job and be able to afford that and some modest living. But if you are good enough to get into a lot of these schools now, you're likely qualified enough to earn these Bright Future scholarships, 100% tuition, 75% tuition, depending on the level, and that's been a big boon for folks. I would much rather graduate from one of our public universities with zero debt than go to some like third-tier private school and go $150,000 in debt. I don't think there's any comparison to that. So that's a huge benefit. And so we're proud of that. But it's like, okay, if we're doing that, why would we not also want to help with other pathways? And so the Florida Law Enforcement Academy Scholarship Program is one way to do it. And it's just our token of appreciation that this is something that's really important. Remember, during the COVID pandemic, we did 3 years in a row $1,000 bonuses for every single sworn law enforcement officer in the entire state of Florida, municipal, county, and state, and no other state was able to do that. And, you know, I would talk to people, and they were thankful, and obviously that was when Biden-inflation was really ramping up, and so the things that you would go to the supermarket, and all of a sudden, you know, you compare your bill a year earlier to what it was there, and it was like a noticeable change. You know, I noticed, I mean, even today, I mean, I'm taking my kids to Walmart to, you know, they have school starting. It's like, okay, we'll get you something. Man, the toys, like a lot more expensive than they used to be. And a lot of these toys are cheap too, like in terms of how they're made, and yet the price. So people were, you know, have been getting pinched. And so we did that. So look, we wanted it to be helpful, and we did. But I'll tell most people, that was not why they appreciated it, because when they got that check from the state of Florida, it just meant that the state cared about them, the state had their back, and the state believed in their mission. So we were proud to do that 3 years in a row. And maybe one of the most significant things that we've been able to do to show our appreciation and for law enforcement and the importance that we place on law enforcement is our Florida Law Enforcement Recruitment Bonus Program. And that's why we're here today, to have a great announcement that we've reached another major milestone. We've now awarded over 8,700 bonuses throughout this program. So these are bonuses of $5,000 to any LEO recruit, whether you're someone that's young in Florida or new to the profession from within our state, which is the majority of them, or if you're experienced and you're transferring out of state from Chicago or New York City or Atlanta or wherever, you get a $5,000 bonus as well. And here with me today are 40 members of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office who qualify for these recruitment bonuses, and we'll be momentarily hand delivering those checks. In addition to checks I'm handing out today, 715 more are in the mail and on their way to new law enforcement officers across the state of Florida. And when we do it for 5,000, that means you net 5,000. So we put in more for the taxes and everything like that. And, Uncle Sam is Uncle Sam. I wish I could do something about it. We make sure we have no income tax in Florida, and we'll keep it that way. And we're even going to give you an opportunity to vote in 2026 on property tax relief. And so stay tuned for that. I think that'll be really important for the state. But we've had a lot of success with this. We've had about 2,000 recruits from out of state. We've had recruits from 49 states and 2 U.S. territories that have relocated to Florida. We have more than 500 from New York, California, Illinois, and other like-minded states. And I'll tell you, you go out there, and some of these places in California that I've been to over the years, walking the streets of San Francisco, the average San Franciscan may not be happy to see me because they have a different view in terms of how they govern. Obviously, they've made much different choices than we have in Florida. But the law enforcement was very appreciative of Florida being a place that was standing up for people, then taking care of our folks in uniform. The firefighters appreciate it. Southern California, police chief told me, he's like, I got all my police officers want to move to Florida now because of what you guys are doing. And so we're proud to do that. I know it's been very beneficial for Sheriff Kronister, other sheriffs, as well as police chiefs around the state and the state agencies. We've done a lot with that. So they will get, so far the program has been awarded $58 million to date. So this is a major, major deal. I think it shows, when I proposed it, we had really strong support from the legislature, a few years ago. And I think rank and file, you have overwhelming support. You get into these things, and there was an effort to kind of short circuit it, and fortunately we were able to get it done. So I'm really proud of that. I want to thank Senator Boyd for what he did. Jay Collins was a senator and was very supportive of this as well. For those of you who didn't see our announcement yesterday, so we did it at the Team House. So these are like, a lot of them are Jay's a Green Beret. There's a lot of these Green Berets, created this place for veterans. It's not just for Army or just for Green Berets, it's for everyone. And so, we said, okay, we'll do the announcement there. So I'm pulling up, and, look, I did my first campaign victory in 2012 when I got nominated in Congress. I did it at the VFW over there in St. Johns County. I've done so many events at American Legion, so I'm a big fan of all those things. But, when you go in there, it's a little bit different than, maybe like a high-class restaurant. I mean, it's blue collar, and I like that. So I was kind of expecting that. I'll tell you, this Team House in South Tampa, man, it's modern. I mean, it's nice. They got like the bar, the flat screens. I was like, man, people are going to really enjoy being here. But if you didn't see that event, we were able to talk a little bit about Jay and kind of his record of service to this country. He was a Green Beret for 23 years. He's doing these special mission units, which, they don't get fanfare. This is clandestine stuff. They're just going out doing it, no recognition, but just producing results and defending the country. But along the way, he gets wounded in action. So he's awarded a Purple Heart. He also earned Legion of Merit, Bronze Star, all these other things. But in the process of all this, he has a fatal wound to his leg. I say he lost the leg. He says he knows where his leg is. He just doesn't have it anymore. But, you're without a leg, and you have an opportunity to retire. Medical retirement would have been very easy to do. But that's not what he did. He re-signed up as a Green Beret and served 5 more years as a Green Beret with a prosthetic leg. How many people do that? Not very many people. And so he finished 23 years of service, and his wife served 20 years. And so they were back in Florida, and eventually he runs, and I recruited him actually to run for the state senate here in Hillsborough County. It was honestly a difficult district to win. A lot of people he won overwhelmingly, but he has been a key component of all these different things that we've been doing. I mean, down the line, fighting illegal immigration, law and order, election integrity. He authored the bill that I signed, best in the nation, to say no purchase of land by the Chinese Communist Party in the state of Florida. All these different great things, and so really produced an exemplary record and continue to do that. But yet in the midst of that, you know, we'd have hurricanes. Hurricane Ian, Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Idalia the year before that, and then obviously Milton. And he's involved with a relief organization that is on the ground almost immediately providing meals to displaced residents and first responders. And so he's there a lot of times before, you know, I'm there. Now Guthrie is usually there, but, you know, I'm usually there the next day. They're already set up. They're doing all this stuff. And so just huge support, not trying to get in front of a camera, but just trying to do what he can to help people be able to get by in very difficult times. And then we've had operations over the years where Floridians have been in dicey situations in the Middle East as well as in Haiti. Of course, I think people know earlier this year you had the 12-day war with Israel and Iran. And so when that broke out, we had a lot of Floridians that were in Israel. The Ben Gurion airport totally shut down. Rockets are raining down. Obviously, the parents, you had some students and stuff, parents are panicking. And now they did know in Florida, at least you know, we were there. So I said, okay, we're going to do it. We've done it before, so we authorized these rescue missions, and some of it was boating them over to Cyprus, some of it was flying out from Jordan. There was a whole bunch of different things going on, and I'm proud to have authorized that, and I'm proud to have you know, put the resources behind it. But I'm doing that in Tallahassee. So we do it, and then Senator Collins is in Israel himself, travels over there, is in Jordan, all these places, personally rescuing people on the ground there in Israel. How many elected officials are doing that for you? And so that's why, you know, I refer to him as the Chuck Norris of Florida politics, because if there's a mission to be had, he's going to accomplish it. So I want him to come up and say a few words right now. Yeah.
A little hard to step up after that. Thank you for the kind introduction, Governor. First off, thank you for being here today. It's incredible to be here in the 813 on 813 Day and to talk about something that I know our community and our state stands up for each and every day. For the men and women behind us, and Chad, thank you for what you do. You are heroes in the community. I know you hear it every day, but you can't hear it enough. What they do and what collectively our law enforcement do across the state is absolutely incredible. And just know that without equivocation, the governor, myself, our entire Senate and House, we have your back. We're going to stand with you, with our law enforcement, no matter what. You matter, your lives matter, your families matter. That is our promise to you. So I want to talk just a hair on something that the governor said. You know, he talked about the leg, the loss, and all of that, but the truth is I have a mechanical advantage. Only one leg gets tired, so really it's not that hard. You know, it is what it is. But the truth is, when I did that, somebody told me it couldn't be done. Someone said, that's not possible because of this. But you know, what I love about the state of Florida is we don't fall for that. We don't listen to whatever the press says, whatever the talking heads tell us. We know what can be done because we do the work ourselves. We take the time to study, understand, and then we act. You heard the governor mention something that is just a huge part of my life, and it has been for many years. It's about deeds, not words. I don't do this for the limelight. I know the governor doesn't do it for that either. He does this because he cares about the people in our state, in our community, and that's why it's so important for us to do this $5,000 bonus for law enforcement, because it's the person behind the badge. You deserve every opportunity, every bit of time, tools, and training necessary to complete your mission, but more importantly, complete your mission and go back home to your family safely. Having walked in your shoes a little bit, well, shoe maybe, it's a hard life, and we can't thank you enough. But just know that, again, we will always have your back. We stand up for our law enforcement here in the state of Florida, and that must not and will not ever change. And Jim, thank you for being here today. Thank you for your stance in leading the way in so many ways for our law enforcement. It's noted and noticed, and I appreciate you, brother. But thank you, guys. God bless you. And Governor, thanks for giving me the mic.
Okay, yep, thanks. Now, this program, we obviously are very committed to it. We think it's been very good for the state. I know Chad will say it's been great here. I can ask Wayne Ivey and Brevard Grady Judd. I mean, they're all going to say it's good. So I think it's been pretty much universal. But I also think that coming up with this New York City mayor, you know, it's like obviously some of these cities are going to elect people that are going to see things differently than me. I get it. The electorate's different, but this guy is, I think, really, really out there, especially when it comes to crime, law and order, and law enforcement. And when you're somebody that doesn't think the NYPD should exist, you know, when you hate law enforcement that way, you know, there's no way you can get in office and that's not going to come through. So I think you're going to see a lot of these folks who are in NYPD, if that does come to pass. I mean, I absolutely think that the sheriff's departments and police departments in Florida that have vacancies are going to be able to do very well recruiting. You know, and these folks, a lot of them have been through a lot. A lot of them bring a lot of experience. I know a lot of the NYPD that have come down here have done very well. And it's sad that that's the case. Look, we know doing things like defund police doesn't work. We know attacking police doesn't work. We've seen that tried in this country, and it hasn't worked. And it's like, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You ain't going to get a good result if you go down that path. And so I think that's why with this program, as well as just Florida's overall culture and ethos, I think we're going to have a lot of opportunities there to be able to fill whatever needs we may have in our agencies, both at the state and at the local level. And I know that our next speaker will be sure to capitalize off that. Our Hillsborough County Sheriff, I want him to come up for a minute, Chad Kronister. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. State Attorney Lopez, thank you for being the greatest criminal justice partner in the world. Thank you for everything you do. Lieutenant Governor Collins, congratulations on your nomination. Thank you for being relentless. I'm so grateful you called Tampa home. Governor DeSantis, America's governor. So many other leaders around the country could benefit and be so much more successful if they would watch and learn how Governor DeSantis governs and the strong policies he continues to create and implement. The prosperity of any community begins with law and order. And the governor's priority policy of law and order has paid huge dividends for Florida law enforcement and had a tremendous impact. The governor's program, now let me back up. Governor, by giving Florida law enforcement the laws, the tools, the resources, benefits that we need to keep our Florida community safe, it's the reason that we've been able to post historic crime reductions year after year. Another significant part of these historic crime reductions are your workforce and the people that you hire. The governor's bonus program has allowed us and helped us hire 270 of some of the most passionate and skillful individuals here at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. That's 221 individuals from around the state of Florida that said, I want to come work for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. But that's also 49 individuals that live throughout the entire country who said, I want to be in the law enforcement profession, but I'm not going to do it where I live. They chose to move to Florida, more specifically Tampa, Florida, to begin their law enforcement career. 7 years ago, we had a law enforcement deputy deficit of 249 deputies. Think about that. The secret's out. There's more people moving to the state of Florida with each passing day. And Florida's not immune to this population boom, or Tampa's not immune to this population boom. We had a 12% population growth the last 2 years, and we're conservatively projecting population growth of another 11% the next 2 years. Your right amount of workforce, the people you hire, is never going to be more critical than the time it is now. 7 years ago, I spoke about having a deficit of 249 law enforcement deputies. I'm here to tell you, for the first time in over 33 years that I've been here at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, with the staffing of the next couple upcoming law enforcement deputy academies, we will be fully staffed. Governors, those 270 law enforcement deputies that you've provided bonuses for equates to a $1.35 million investment that our governor has made in the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Governor, I thank you, our county administrator, our county commissioners, and this incredible community for your unwavering and your steadfast support. It only fuels the nearly 4,000 employee workforce that we have to be even more tireless in our efforts to make this the safest community in the state of Florida. Governor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. And when are you getting that helicopter?
This year, 26.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
They're getting this, like, I mean, who else? Broward has one? Is that, who else has them in the state?
Miami-Dade.
Miami, and you'll help all the Tampa Bay region with it?
Central Florida. Yes,
Yeah. So, it came across the budget. This was 24, and I was like, yeah, okay. So, and I mean, it was a decent amount of money, like $7.5 million. I'm like, okay, I get it. And then it came across a budget this year with another 7.5, and I'm like, wait, what? Didn't I already approve that? No, you approved the first tranche, but you got to do the second tranche. And I talked to my staff. I'm like, man, things are just really expensive. But they say it's normal, and it is going to be something that's not just used in the Hillsborough County, but will be used all throughout the region. So I was happy to be supportive of it, and I know you guys will use that well. Also happy to see a lot of the great work that's being done at the state attorney's office, and Susie Lopez was obviously serving as a judge. Duty called because of circumstances that required action, and she got in there, and I think has really got things going in a great direction, working very closely with Chad and law enforcement, and that's really the name of the game. And I think the people of Hillsborough County have benefited tremendously. And as I mentioned earlier, got a very big election victory in November of 2024. So your state attorney, Susie Lopez.
Thank you, Governor. Let me know that 50th state that we haven't gotten somebody for. I'll pick up the phone and call him. I want to thank Governor DeSantis for always backing the blue and putting public safety at the forefront of everything that you and your team do every single day. While other states are turning their backs on law enforcement, Florida is opening the door and saying, come on in, we've got your back. There's even been a state that declared a state of emergency because they didn't have enough law enforcement officers. We don't have that problem here in Florida. This initiative will give Sheriff Kronister and his team the tools to recruit and keep the very best deputies right here in Hillsborough County. Without them, we can't protect the community, uphold the law, and keep our families safe. If you're thinking about wearing a badge in Hillsborough County, let me give you another reason why it's a great place to be a deputy. When you make an arrest here, your partners at the state attorney's office will follow the law and pursue justice. We do not play politics with public safety. In some parts of the country, Soros-backed prosecutors choose which laws to enforce and which ones to ignore. You don't have rogue prosecutors here in Hillsborough County, and you never will under my watch. We want you to know that the Hillsborough County State Attorney's Office works shoulder to shoulder with our law enforcement partners every single day, because we know that strong partnerships are the backbone to safer neighborhoods and to crime reductions, like Sheriff Kronister mentioned. Thank you to our sheriff, Sheriff Kronister, and your team for putting your lives on the line for us every single day. We are proud to stand with you in everything that we do. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much. And, you know, being willing to prosecute and hold people accountable, like California, you know, they did this thing where like you could steal up to $999 because they set the threshold at $1,000, and basically you could get away with it because you couldn't be a felony. And what happened? They had to put all the stuff under glass, and then a lot of the stores just ended up closing. Then you have prosecutors who just won't bring charges or bring cases. You know, I met a fella here in Florida a couple years ago, and he's like, "Hey, you know, I moved from San Francisco," and I'm like, "Why?" And he said what the tipping point was, these two guys broke into his house. And he chased them out and all this stuff. They were trying to rob and maybe even do worse. The cops catch these guys, and they go to the guy like, "Well, you're not pressing charges, right?" He's like, "Of course I am. They broke into my house." And he's like, "Well, they're not going to prosecute." And I'm just thinking to myself, like, you can break into somebody's house and there's nothing that happens at that point? Obviously, you're going to have a lot of problems there, and people, you know, are not going to feel safe when that happens. So I know that's not an issue here in Hillsborough County or in the surrounding counties. We may have an issue or two in other parts of the state. You know, we're always monitoring these things. And so, but we obviously believe that the laws are the laws. You know, there may be individual cases where there may be some disagreement about the validity, but what you can't do is just say we're not prosecuting these types of crimes. And that's what they've done in different parts of the country to, again, very predictably catastrophic results. Okay, one of our beneficiaries from this recruitment bonus is going to now come up to speak, Deputy Maria Gallegos.
Good morning. Good morning, Governor Ron DeSantis, Sheriff Chad Kronister, and distinguished guests. First, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Pursuing a career in law enforcement has always been a goal of mine. I wanted to do honest work that makes a real impact. This career gives me the opportunity to serve with integrity and take pride in the work I do every day. I joined the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office because of its strong reputation for professionalism, community engagement, and unwavering support for its deputies both on and off duty. When I joined law enforcement, I was grateful for the hiring bonus that was offered. What I didn't expect was just how deeply personal and meaningful that support would become. In October of last year, I lost my mother. Throughout my life, she would always say that if she won the lottery, the first thing she'd do was gift me the money so I could design and own the house I've always dreamed of. Spoiler alert, she never did win the lottery. Now, as fate would have it, I'm closing on my first home at the same time I'm receiving this hiring bonus. The timing feels like more than just a coincidence, and there's a profound emotional connection for me in that. Beyond my own experience, one of my former classmates here today just became a father. This bonus helps ease the financial stress that often comes with welcoming a new baby. Others have planned to use the bonus to help cover child care costs, which is especially important as we all adjust to the demanding and unpredictable schedule that comes with a career in law enforcement. It's not just about buying a house or childcare. It's about receiving the support towards our personal lives and dreams while we learn to navigate and succeed in this new career. We are only a few of hundreds of new recruits here at the Sheriff's Office and throughout the state of Florida that are positively impacted by this bonus. I want to sincerely thank you, Governor Ron DeSantis, and everyone involved in supporting these hiring incentives. The bonus is more than just a recruitment tool. It's an investment in real people with real stories. Thank you.
Yep. We also did you do Hometown Heroes for your, the house? Did you get help from Hometown Heroes? No, sir, I did not. Have you closed yet? No, sir. Okay, you should ask about Hometown Heroes. We have, I mean, it helps. So, you know, we have issues of like, okay, you want police, nurses, teachers. We had massive real estate boom, so the prices were going up, and there was inflation in the U.S. economy. It's interesting, you know, because I've done some trade missions, and we did the air show in France for the whole, I mean, amazing constellation. And I was expecting like to be shocked by like, you know, you're in Paris, you go to, honestly, I was surprised at the prices. Not that it was cheap, but I just think things over the last 4 or 5 years in the U.S., I mean, they've gone up more than in most of these other places. I mean, you definitely see that. So, you know, we didn't want a situation where you couldn't afford to live in the general vicinity. Well, you're going to commute an hour and a half to go to work to be a teacher or a police officer. So Hometown Heroes was helping folks be able to afford and be able to get into to homes with down payments. You know, I think they limited it to like, you know, the core kind of things that folks are looking to attract. And so I would definitely look into that. Any of you guys back here look into that, and I know that there's probably a lot of realtors who are very well versed on the program. Okay, so it's time to hand out the checks. And so I guess, is Jay going to read the names from here, or how are we going to do it?
I've got a list.
Okay, you got the list? And then we're going to step over, Chad and I are going to step over here. And how are they going to go? They're just going to walk off here when they're done? Oh, okay.
All right. Ready to go? Yeah. All right. First off, we're going to have Deputy Maria Gallegos. Congratulations. Deputy Lindsay Alexander. Deputy Braden Albritton. Deputy Joshua Allen. Deputy Eduardo Ayala. Deputy Sergey Bevan. Deputy Michael Cotone. Deputy Jorge Diaz. Deputy Alex Dixon. Deputy Adriana Elmore. Deputy Elizabeth Galindo. Deputy Noel Garcia. Deputy Chloe Garrett. Deputy Cole Gill. Deputy David Gillespie. Deputy Zachary Gleaton. Deputy Juan Gonzalez Molina. Deputy Colton Gray. Deputy Amber Hess. Deputy Brandon Jewell. Deputy Jeanette Johnson. Deputy Duncan Levine. Deputy William Lear. Deputy Emma Lewis. Deputy Stanley Louis Jacques. Deputy Zuri McClary. Deputy Paul Miller. Deputy Luis Perez Munoz. Deputy Amari Pyatt. Deputy Carson Reynolds. Deputy Anthony Ropierski. Deputy Leonardo Rubio. Deputy Miguel Saez. Deputy Garrett Steele. Deputy Andrew Swiger. Deputy Braden Tasonic. Deputy Joshua Venny. And last, but certainly not least, Deputy Clement Wellhoff.
Congratulations, everybody. Well deserved. We appreciate what you're doing. We know how important it is, and you can count on our support. Since we are in Tampa, we stopped at one of the sandwich places yesterday after we appointed Jay to be lieutenant governor. Did a Cuban sandwich, and we started having the debate. Do you put salami on a Cuban sandwich or not? And people in Tampa may have a view, and people in Miami. So I put on my social media, on our X, a poll. And so if you guys want to weigh in the 813 in favor of salami, if the 305 wants to weigh in against salami, we'll see how it all shakes out. I honestly didn't really notice much of a difference, to be honest with you, but that's just me. I was just happy to be there, so it's all good. Okay, we got any questions?
You've been very effusive in your praise for Lieutenant Governor Collins the last couple of days. Based on his character, talent, background, would you be supportive of him if he were to run for governor next year?
Well, Jay, I think, has been, clear, this is about doing a mission. Politics will take care of itself. I mean, we have a whole year before we even have a primary, and so that's a lifetime in politics. What I said yesterday was there were two things that mattered to me about being appointed lieutenant governor. One, you had to have demonstrated support for conservative principles and policies and delivered results on those. Jay obviously has done that. And two, you have to be a leader. You got to be someone that wants to run towards the fire, not sit on the fence, not duck and run. And obviously he's done that in his life. But when we needed him fighting illegal immigration, when we needed him to stand up to the CCP, he was there. And so I have confidence that he could do the job as governor and do it well. And that was primarily it in terms of kind of how you look at that. Now, when you talk about someone running, there's people that could be a good governor who may not be able to be a good candidate. There are some candidates who could be good who'd be lousy governors. It doesn't necessarily go one or the other, right? I mean, but I will tell you, having been at that event, if you watch that video, you watch the people come up and talk about Jay, a lot of people that didn't know much about him were really blown away by his story. So, we're happy to have him as part of the administration. I know he's, focused on that. But I think there's a lot of people that are like, man, this is the type of guy that we need. And if you think about it, we've had appointments this year. So look at the appointments we've made. Attorney General. We probably have the most active Attorney General in the country over the last 4 or 5 months, James Uthmeyer. You look at Chief Financial Officer. This is like less than a month old. This guy's a bulldog showing up to doge the local governments, fighting for taxpayers, fighting for property tax relief. I don't think anyone's seen anything like it, Blaise and Golia, and so that's just been fantastic. And now with Jay Collins as lieutenant governor, we've got a really, really strong team in the state capitol in Tallahassee, and I'd put it up against anybody throughout the country. But I think people that watch that, we put out a video to just kind of introduce him to people. People are like, man, that's our guy. So he definitely has the ingredients of what it would take to be a compelling candidate that can grab attention. But I know that, he's really interested in moving the ball forward on all these policies. Obviously, law enforcement, we're going to have a big announcement tomorrow on things that will probably be of many interest to a lot of people here in Florida and really beyond that. And we've got so many other irons in the fire. So stay tuned on all of that. It's going to be very exciting.
Governor, in a similar vein, what does your appointment of Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins mean for First Lady Casey DeSantis' thoughts on running for governor?
Well, Casey DeSantis' thoughts have always been people have asked her to do things because they know she's a dynamic speaker, very eloquent, very accomplished. But I said at the beginning when people were doing that, that's not anything she's has ever outwardly sought. She's really happy making a difference. And when we just did the cancer announcements with massive funding for pediatric cancer research. So I don't think it's necessarily, change anything with her per se, but I think from the beginning until now has always been a lot of people like, hey, can you get her to do it? Can you get her to do it kind of deal? She just wants the state to do well. She wants to see, continued success on overhauling how we approach helping people in need, which she's been a pioneer in, continuing to do things to help school children, to help moms, really, really important. But I don't think anyone who's been in that position has made more of an impact than she has. And I will tell you, yesterday, after going through all that, she was really, excited and inspired with what we saw yesterday when Jay was announced. She's going to be serving, continuing to help make a difference, in one way or another. But I mean, the thought around her has always been, more exterior, with people telling her she has to do all those things, which is funny because you see kind of, the different stuff that gets percolated out there. And then, I'm getting ready to leave, and what is she doing? Taking the kids to the first day of school, kindergarten, second grade, and third grade. And so we're always up for adventures. Next.
There's a protest in St. Pete about Doge today. What's your thoughts on it?
What are they protesting?
I guess they don't like Doge.
Well, look, Floridians have seen their property tax bills go up. That's not the state. I was announcing all these tax breaks, like, well, why didn't, I just got my property tax, but well, that's not coming from the state. I'm like, we have record surplus, we have record rainy day. They're like, well, don't take as much property. We're not taking property tax at the state, that's local. And what happens is people's property values have gone up and they've had to pay more and more. Even with homestead, it still goes up. And heaven forbid, you got to buy a new home because some people's jobs change. They got to move to a different part of town, different part of the state. Then their tax basis is way higher. So the question is you've seen a lot of bloat in budgets. Where's that money going to? And they'll say it's for things that we all agree on: education, public safety, first responders. But I can tell you there's a lot of stuff beyond that some of these governments are spending this tax dollars on. And so you absolutely can do property tax relief. And, people are saying that, like, well, why someone has, like, some investor is buying, why should they get a property tax? They don't need to. I mean, I think it should apply to Florida residents and their primary resident. Fine. If they want to tax the investors and use that, that's totally fine. But you either own your home or you don't. So I think this is all part of a process to show taxpayers, there is relief available. Now, you're going to have to vote for it when it's on the ballot, and it's going to need 60%. It's not something that we can, that Jim Boyd can pass through the legislature and I sign, and then that's just how it is. That's not the way Florida's Constitution is structured. So just know we're working hard on this. There's going to be a good proposal. I know Ben Albritton and Jim and the other leadership team in the Senate are very, very interested in getting something in front of the voters. And so that will happen. But what they're going to say when that happens is, you can't reduce people's property taxes because we're not going to have schools, or we're not going to have public, and that's not true. And what Doge is doing is it's showing some of the things that have been done, on local level. And look, not every local government, has done poor. There's some that have done good, and it's a variety. But I can tell you, if you look at the growth of these budgets over the last 3 or 4 years, it is not just because of public safety or education. It's just not. I mean, there's more to it than that. And so, do you need to be spending $3 million on DEI consultants? Would you rather them spend it on that, or would you rather a property tax cut? Do you want them spending on some of the things that they're, and so we've been able, I think the Blaze leading it has been able to show, that there's a lot of different things. And I think there's going to be more and more to come. Now, we've also done through the state, even before these teams are going to local governments, we're doing the universities, we're doing state agencies, we're doing different things, and we're going to continue to do it because I think it's important. And we have found grants that states have pulled down federally that we sent back to feds. There have been other things that are going to need to be cleaned up as well. So this is not just unique to like a city government. I mean, the education bureaucracies are big. The universities, even we've held the line on tuition admirably, but the reality is, these things grow. Now, we eliminated DEI. We're the first to do that a few years ago, and I think like on the surface they comply, but then some of them do it and they rename and they put it down. They do all this stuff. So it's constantly going through all this. So I think it's good. I think what Blaze is leading is good for taxpayers, and I think it's going to be able to produce an ability for us to be able to say, you can own your own home. We can do it in Florida. We can make all this work. while meeting the priorities that we all agree on. But for some of the stuff that is not necessary, I'd rather that go to tax cuts. I'd rather that go to relief for property. And the thing is when you have home values rise like that, and it's not just in Florida. Like, we may have had more because we had more authentic demand. People were fleeing these places, coming here, but they went up everywhere. And I don't think we've ever had a higher home value average compared to average income or median income. I mean, it is out of whack. It's hard to afford. And then you have the cost of these other things, insurance, you have the cost of property tax. Well, the one thing, we can't control the price of homes, but the one thing that government through the people can control is the taxation. That's purely a government function. That is not subject to market forces. That is within the control of the government. And what happens is your property gets assessed higher and higher. It's an unrealized gain. You haven't sold it for that much. They're just telling you it's worth that much. And guess what happens? When the market corrects, which it inevitably does, do they rush in to assess your property at a lower level? I don't think so. I don't think that, not that I'm aware of. So it's a one-way ratchet. And so you basically get stuck paying higher taxes. I think someone's personal residence, if it's homesteaded property, I think you got to be able to own it free and clear of the government. I think that is what living in a free state ultimately means. No income tax, and you can own your home free and clear without having to pay rent to the government. And I think it's totally doable. And also, because I have people will say, there's some of these people, they're buying all these homes and they're renting them out, all this stuff. Fine. Well, guess what? If the personal residence is tax-free and those can still be taxed, then it's a way to say we're putting a premium on individual family home ownership. It'll make it more attractive. It'll make the other stuff less attractive relative. So I think it would solve a lot of problems 100%. All right, thanks everybody.